This is the first class that we've done for digital drawing. So what we're going to do tonight, and you can see down here, this is the picture we're going to be working on tonight. If you watched the previous episode, you'll see the sketch of this piece being made live in real-ish time. And we'll throw it into Photoshop, ink it, and then eventually color it, add some effects, add some more shading. Okay, cool. Hey, there's T-Bones. T-Bones is on the show. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to make a couple layers, and we're going to make our first layer have some white. So you're going to go ahead and pick your white, and you're going to fill with the fill here on Photoshop. And then we're going to knock that down to about 60, whatever looks good, to where it kind of looks a little faded. We'll get in here tight so we can see our sketch. We have a layer of white that's going to allow us to ink over our pencil brush. So then we're going to go over here to our second layer, and we're going to change that to inks. Okay. So now we've got our full picture that we can go in and we can ink our stuff with that we drew. I'm getting real close in here to the eyes so we can see this. I'm going to hit P to go to pen, and we're going to have black and white down here, our foreground and background color. And we're just going to jump right into the eyeballs. So I'm going to start down here with eye barrels, and we're going to use this lasso tool. We're going to use the lasso tool, or not the lasso tool, the pen tool, to get yourself some inks. Actually, we've got that at 400%. So right now, this is 100% for our picture. One big thing we are going to change here, we're going to change this to maybe 200. Let's go to 200. That's pretty big. All right, so that has increased our resolution by twice as much. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our pen tool, back to our was, get the pen tool, and we are going to make our ink work. All right, I'm going to make that a 2. We're going to go in here and we're going to make our ink lines with the pen tool. Okay, that's a little distracting for me, so I'm going to mark that back down to 1. So then what we can do on here, what I used to do is I would go up and hit the selection tool and then fill in with black. But what we can do is fill this path with our foreground or background color being the black or the white. The foreground color is our black. So we're going to pick that, and that fills that in. We can hit Control X and fill in that to make a nice inked line. And this is going to drastically clean up our picture. I'm going to put that back at 70. Go here to our inks. We can turn that on and off, see how that looks. Go back in. There's another technique that we can do. Go up here to your general brushes, get a hard round brush, and we will turn our smoothing all the way up to 100. That keeps you from having, if you have your smoothing factor down low, it really tracks everything that your mouse does. So you get these jagged lines and whatnot when you're trying to make something. But if you turn your smoothing all the way up, you can get a nice smooth stroke. So get these eyebrows going here, and I can even fill in as much as I want to fill in. I can get as close as I want. We can get as much of this drawn in as we feel like. Everybody see what I'm doing here? You know how to use anchor points. You can place an anchor point. We can deselect all those, and we can right click on our path, and fill all of those in, and now we've got eyes. We've got nice crisp eyes. Looks good. Go up here and do this next one. Keeping these nice and white. Almost like you're drawing the ink strokes. And here, for example, we can even we can select our anchor points and move this around. I'm going to keep that as close to where my pencil drawings are. Fill the path, and more about. And up this way, we're going to go ahead and put in some mask details here. And then up. Get team ready for filter. We can even do a lot of this mask. We can give this mask less edge if we do a second technique, but I'm going to stick with this for now because I like controlling more of my line weight. Fill that in. Looks good. Yeah. Cool. Alright. Going up around the face, still using your anchor points. Fill that path in. Now we've got some face. Now you can't kind of really see what was going on here before. Kind of the mouth got a little janky and filled in here, sketched wise. A little twig. Turn the inks back on. Come back down here. And what we'll do for this spot up here to finish up the mask, leave that, hit escape, go on here, and we're going to go to stroke path, and return it to brush, and we can make our line there. This is going to correspond with the size that you made your brush. Size you made your brush and your hardness. It's going to keep that same parameter. So again, all we have to do is come in here, we put our pen in, right click near it, stroke path, brush, and OK. And we can exit off of that. And then that gives us a thin little line for the edge of the mask. Now what we can do here is we're going to give a little bit of a curve to Mikey's mouth here. You can get kind of think of it as the opposite of an Etch-a-Sketch. You can get a lot of control here. mouth. We're going to fill in this whole mouth line here. Now, sometimes, yes, it is easier to just do this with traditional media. But the beautiful part about this is, you fill that in. The beautiful part about this is I can undo. You find yourself doing that whenever you're drawing traditionally after digitally drawing for so long, and you make one little tiny mistake and you say, oh, I keep Control Z this mofo. That's all I wanted to do. Get that there. Finish off the roundness of this head. I'm not sure how much Photoshop is now, but you can look that up. And like every software now, it is a subscription service. Instead of just buying software or apps, now you have to pay to keep using it, which is a bummer. Now up here we're going to go ahead and make the knot. I'm going to make this line work just a little bit bigger. There's the knot. So his knot's going to go. Bandana here is going all the way up to the back, high and tight. You can get this. You can also do the stroke for bandana too. See, nice crisp line work that is very difficult to get with traditional media. Yes, it is more impressive sometimes when you can do that, but when you want to make a clean piece, you want to make a good looking piece, it's okay to use whatever tools are at your disposal. Even if that means at some point in the future, we get to where we can create stuff just by telling the computer what we want, and it makes it, and you say, oh, I didn't think about doing it that way. And it gets it done, and then you can make your stuff. I would assume if the AI that we are all afraid of right now is getting to be more and more advanced, we're going to be able to program in what we want as our entertainment. And people aren't going to have to make it anymore. You can say, hey, program me a sequel to Wizard of Oz. That is in the style of a Quentin Tarantino movie. It'll say, okay, here's the data collected from Quentin Tarantino and how a Wizard of Oz movie could possibly look if he had written and directed it. That doesn't sound so far-fetched when you've seen some of the weird things that they've put out on the internets, and they're starting to do the video versions of these things, and they can only get better. Then people can spend less money on their entertainment because they have a machine that's going to make it the way they want it. And then people will stop griping about versions of things that they get in real life. They can just make their own. We are going to go on this. My contacts are getting dry and gross. Next time I do this, I'm going to get a straw. Filibuster those in. Starting to look turtley. Good. When we get down here, we're going to get these pads put in the bicep. So when you're doing turtles, the idea I like when I make them is I like to make their shell on their fronts almost like the equivalent of muscles, but I don't want to put abs in there. They've done that before. There was an old live-action Turtles TV show, I think in the late 90s, early 2000s. That was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the next, or maybe I think it was actually just Ninja Turtles, the next, was it called The Next Mutation? I think it was. They never got around to explaining what that title was. It's like, well, what's their next mutation going to be? Somebody had the wrong idea to make the shape of their masks like way too different. It was like the idea was it covered their whole head except for their mouth and their eyes. Raph's was torn, so it looked like a normal turtle mask. Oh my god, just look it up. It was such a wrong design for the turtles. It just did not look correct. And you know how in the Michael Bay versions of the movie, they keep giving Raph a like pirate style bandana? It's not necessary. I guess it's to differentiate him from Mikey, because sometimes the orange and the red can kind of blend together, and I guess for some reason it's hard for people to see it. I think on this, I am going to make these bands a little tighter. They looked a little loose and bunched, almost like I put a scrunchie on them when I was sketching these. Get them a little more tight. Less bunching, less wrinkles. Get old. Like, I really can't stand the way these things feel. Get me a good arm. Turtle hand here. back in college, I was a computer lab monitor, and that meant that they needed somebody to hang out at the computer lab and make sure that no nefarious people were in there hanging out. The Macs they had out there, they had iMacs set up at college, and they were big. Yeah, I got to sit out there and I would give myself projects to do. It was like a job that I could have in college where I could stay at school on Friday or on Saturday and Sunday, and I could practice using Photoshop and Illustrator because I didn't have it at my house. And this was maybe the CS3 that I reused out at school. This is God, I graduated 13 years ago. Nuts. And I started my own couple projects. I did the endings. I tried to do a comic book style version of the ending action scene of the first Ninja Turtles movie. I did a lot. It was the Foot Clan coming in after the Turtles when Danny kind of has no choice but to rat them out on where their hideout is, but the Turtles are waiting for them. And the Foot Clan tries to ambush the Turtles, and the Turtles are ready for them. So anyway, it starts from that point and then goes all the way up to the fight with the Shred Dude. Oh, by the way, if you're looking for something that's going to make you fall down a YouTube rabbit hole, find Tony Jax, Tony Jax resound videos. This guy takes I'm getting back into the brush here just to finish off these spots on the knucks. He takes action scenes from new and old movies and redoes the sound effects with a modern sound library and enhances the sound effects for a lot of movies. And he did the final fight in Ninja Turtles fighting Shredder, boosts the sound effects, like gives the swords, like Leo's swords, a metal whooshing sound, and just kind of ups the artistry for the sound effects. And it is one of the coolest things. If you can listen to it on a super sound system, it's rad. It is so rad. And you can watch the original scene first, then watch it with these enhanced sounds by Tony Jacks, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I loved. He even takes some things like you don't really notice it, but in the Dark Knight Rises, the original like punch sound effects for whenever Batman's fighting Bane in the sewers and the final fight, the punch sound effects are like really quiet, and he kind of ups them to where they're more like hard punch, like traditional punch sound effects. It's really cool. Check that out, Tony Jackson. Then if you want to see one of the coolest versions, it just shows you how much sound effects play in making an action scene work. There's a scene from the Warriors. If you look up the Warriors, it's some kind of bathroom action scene. Watch the original version of that scene with the original sound effects, and then watch this guy's updated version with his sound effects. It's so cool. It's so cool, and it makes you want to watch the entire movie with those effects on there, because it makes it so much better. Look that up, Tony Jacks. And some of them you may not notice, because he does do a lot of modern movies. He's done things like, I think, some John Wick scenes, and like I said, he did Batman. He did do, I have seen some where they've re-edited the alleyway fight from the 1989 Batman, where he's fighting Joker's henchman, and the dude with the swords pops up over the fence, and they have their fight. He enhances those sound effects, I think he takes out the white flash. He takes out the white flash from Vicky Vale's camera flashes, and then adds in just much more modern, better punch sound effects. It's so cool. I'm gonna watch it after we get done with this. We're gonna go for another 15 minutes. Again, I'll zoom out here for anybody just now joining in on the fun. Working on some turtles, cleaning up what we did. A little cleaner, a little more precise. There you go. Get up here on the thumb area. Do you say thumb? And the fun thing is I could even go through here and do this whole fist. What we're doing here is we're kind of drawing the line work. When the fist is kind of clenched like that, you get all kinds of weird spirally shapes. It's kind of like the ear. You can get away with making the inside of an ear almost any shape you want, really. I'm going to have to close that over there because I started that in a funny spot. I think I was intending on making this just a stroke outline, or a stroke fill. Put that in there, give them a little bit of a nail. I am going to boost this up to 76. to be able to see my lines work here. Move that down. We're going to get that finger in there. Get this one there. Couple of spots there for the knucks. Yep. Phil. Like the groundhog Phil? Yeah, like the groundhog Phil. Let's see. Go up here. We're going to get this shoulder in here. Ooh, my shoulder. Get that in. Feet for the other shoulder muscle. A little collarbone action in here. A little kind of a throat line. There's that. And let's go ahead and let's fill those out. We're going to, oh shoot, I put that on the wrong line. Put all that on the wrong layer. What did I get there? Okay, so I made a little mistake there. So what we're going to do is I put the inks on the wrong darn layer, which should be okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut all those. We're going to deselect. We're going to copy that. We're going to paste it in place. And we're going to fill those out. Merge these two. Made a little mistake there. There we go. All right. That's going to put a little bit of a white fill on our closed shape there, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to make the nunchucks go through here. Might have to change this just a tad. It's going to go behind this knee. So we want that to be, we need that to be a little more in, so it's behind that finger properly. Curve those out. And since we have this on another layer, we can go ahead and put these, we can stroke that path, close that off. Then we're going to go in, we're going to hit E and go to our eraser. Make sure that's a card, okay, and then we'll go in here and eliminate where. Actually, we need to see it through those fingers, don't we? So we're going to eliminate it there to there, there to there. If you hold shift and you click in one spot, it'll continue your erasing line. And then we'll go down here to our main inks layer and not erase what we just put down on that layer, and we'll go in. Oops. There you go, got all that. Now we've got this part, and we'll come in here and we'll probably go ahead, and what we can do is that is going to be in the background, so we can merge those. What I'm going to do for these knee pads is I'm also going to fill these the same way. We're actually going to start with that. No, we'll start with these ones in the back, because they'll be underneath it. So here's what we're going to do here. We're going to right click, and we're going to fill the path with our background color. We can go in and stroke the path, and that's going to put an outline on it. And since that piece of the knee pad, so I like to put their knee pads in 3 little sections. Do the same thing here. Right click, fill the path with the background color, then stroke the path with the foreground color. Now we've got those. Now here, since this is behind here, all we have to do is stroke the path. And if we want to, we can go in here and we can hit Control G and turn that back to white, and we can fill that in. There you go. Now you got your knee. So then we'll go here. It's kind of a tangent right there, but it'll be fine. Go in here. We can put the top of that thigh in. That last anchor point. Follow that path. Alright. Now we can go in here and we can make sure you're hitting escape whenever you're done making your line shape. When you're doing your wing. Okay, we go in here, right click all these, stroke paths. It's going to make that white. We need to keep those where they are. Oops, wrong thing. Right click, stroke path with the black, because that's on our foreground color for now. And we can have that. We'll go in and we will fill these lines for the foot. Now this foot's pretty scribbled, so we're going to kind of maybe pick how we want this foot to eventually go. You kind of just have to pick spots and say, well, okay, I would put it here if I could see it. And this may just, I don't know if this may just be me or after doing it so long. Whoops. Go back on the white. That needs to be no path, which we're going to put that back to the foreground color, kind of keep everything on that. So we got this leg in here. We need to put the rest of the crotch fill over here. Here's another fun technique. If you want to put something behind something else like this, we don't want to fill in here with our line work. So what we can do is we can hit W and do our selection tool and select everything that's outside this closed shape. And then we can right click, stroke our path, and then it fills in there behind everything. Fills in only what the work area is going to be. We can do the same thing with our fill shape. So we'll go here, select outside our closed shape, right click, fill the path, and there, it doesn't go through. See where our path would have gone? It didn't. Isn't that convenient? It is. Another little benefit of this technique. So I'm going to give him maybe some invented muscles. I probably need to, let's fill this one in, fill that path. I'm going to go around there and make that one just a tad bigger. And I'm going to up this because I think it's kind of hard for you guys to see. There you go. Give him a little bit of a groin-old muscle here. Fill that path in. We're getting somewhere, aren't we? Knock that back down to 75 so you can kind of see the hip. Now, really, the turtles can have their shell kind of act as their clothes. So you don't see any of the unnecessaries on your turtle. We'll fill out this leg. A little bit more curved than angular there. You know, there have been so many different versions of the engine turtles that there's no real wrong way to do them. Not everybody likes the way that they make them in all the different mediums, but if they redesign the turtles every couple of years, they can make new toys, and that way the collectors and the kids that are being introduced to modern turtles designs can say, oh, I like these turtles better. I like turtles. Anyway, I like the OG turtles. I don't really love the way they make them look, or the way that Eastman and Laird made them originally. I do respect the way that they look because their pictures are so detailed and so and busy in a wonderful way that their pictures are so much fun to just look at. We're going to make this knee pad. We're going to make that knee pad. We're going to do a stroke on here. Keep that kind of simpler. Here, we'll fill this path in. Can bunch these just a tad. Fill that in, fill path. Get a little bit going back here. Get a little closer so I can make sure that my details are going to work. We have one thing to work. Fill the buster there. We're getting pretty close to this. We're not going to have this thing fully inked. We're still missing some pieces. Let's just get this wrist band in here. We'll get the forearm and bicep squished together. I'm going to fill that spot in. Okay, go back to that. Fill the pads. And alright, we're going to go ahead. Actually, what we'll do here is we'll do a second fun thing here. Go ahead and make we're going to do a selection. We're going to hit our gradient. Oh, God, am I still doing it? I'm still putting it on the wrong layer. You cotton-headed mini-muggins. Oh, well. Select that. Contract it by, let's do 5. Do that. Yeah, it's on a different layer. Fill that in. Put these lines in here down to fill out our nunchuck. Stroke that. Now we've got a nunchuck behind him. That's kind of going at a wrong angle. We need to have that go a little more in. Okay, that should look better. A little better. And we will eventually get to connecting the nunchucks. I think we'll go with a strap or a string instead of a chain. Oops. Yeah, we can put one on there for right now. There we go. Now we can see his chucks. Fill out that bicep just a tad. Put in a little bit of the pad right there and back here. Oh, we gotta finish off that wristband there. Right, we still need to do the rest of the feet, the rest of the scene. We can get a little wiggly with the shell. I'm going to select outside the shape. Now, I'm going to have to merge those. Let me do this again. We'll select in here, inverse that, copy that, paste it, merge it there. I just got to fix a couple small things here I forgot to change when we were making it. Alright, there we go. Alright, we'll go in here, make sure we're on the correct layer. We're going here and we're going to let this shell get a little more loose. So we're going to go with our pen tool and kind of maybe just have some happy accidents happen here. We're going to do the edge of the shell. I like to do a kind of frame to the shell, like here's the edge. Actually, I did that the wrong way. So I got kind of an edge to the shell. I'm gonna backtrack that just a tad because that's the inside of it, and I want it to kind of go. Whoops. Make sure that's black. Go up here, and our shell is going to extend to there. Erase that a little bit. I don't like how close that got to there. Go in and we're going to kind of give it a little bit of I don't know what you call that. Not really scalloped. But then we do the back. We can hit shift and continue our line. And kind of make the shells, let's give it a little bit of a dent right there. And give it another dent, and not continue from the point, but from right there. There we go. That looks good. So now he's got a bit of a shell. Go in here. Let's do that. Go in here, and this will probably be silhouetted pretty hard. Continuation of that. Continuing aeration. Alright, and we'll get some more details and edgings in here pretty soon. But I'm going to stop that there for tonight. We need to save this, and I'll get that saved. And we will continue working on this Thursday. If I have time to get this in a live recording, we'll do that 9 p.m. for an hour, and then we'll see how far we get. Probably get just more inking, and we'll continue to do this in Photoshop. And then in a few episodes, we will start coloring process. Check back here. If you enjoyed this episode, find more stuff on cooldojo.com, tpublic.com/user/cooldojo, to find more turtle stuff and more Cool Dojo drawing class episodes. All right, everybody, thanks, and I'll see you Thursday.